Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jason Levine. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Monday Creative Kickoff. And a bit of a cold open today. I realized, again, I need to get I need to get a more generic intro. I still have my masterclass intro. I was actually working on one last week that I thought was going to be pretty cool. Went to an old After Effects template that I'd built a long, long time ago, and I was... I thought it looked pretty good, and I went back, and then I showed it to my offspring, and they immediately said, no, don't use that. It looks really cheesy. So maybe I'll show it one day as proof of concept. But in the meantime, good to see you all. Thanks so much for joining me on a Monday morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world. I see we've got Vincent and Leon and Lorianne and Christopher. How are you all doing? All right, great to see you all. Oh, why can't I scroll some of this here? Here we go. Kyer 2021 from the High Sierras. Great to see you. And we've got Anthony. Z by HP. It's been so long indeed. Frank Bohm, great to see you. Steve, Cody Bear, Patrick. Lovely to have you all. Catherine, how's it going on this Monday? Which I'm going to help you groove through your Monday. So part of what I'm looking to do a little bit later is actually record some drum grooves for you. Well, not for you per se. I mean, you're here. Record some drum grooves and just do some editing and just, kind of emphasize. Funnily enough, I was reading a bunch of things recently. And again, after our AI talk a few weeks ago, there's been a lot of stuff around AI music generation and beyond that, I've seen a lot of requests, and we discussed this around sort of AI-assisted workflows, really just speeding up time. And someone was talking about something on Reddit about, what would be super cool is if I had a bunch of different drum grooves and there was some, AI that could not only organize them, but find the best bits, automatically cut them, loop them, do all the work for me. I thought, actually, yeah, that's interesting. Like that's actually a really interesting and not a far-fetched thing at all. In fact, for those of you who are a little bit more familiar with the GPTs, I'm sure you could write a GPT that could effectively do that. I'm not exactly sure what the training criteria data would be, but yeah, if it understands, here's what 4 bars are in 4/4 time, go find, all the best 4/4 bits that stay in time. It'll actually be pretty interesting, and particularly for actual human performance. If it's just trying to cut something electronically generated, obviously you just have endless variation or endless edits because everything would be in time. Anyway, all that to say, great to see you all. Thanks so much for joining. We're probably going to record some drums. And I even, I was going to have a separate camera over by the drum kit. I got a little bit lackadaisical with that, so it'll just be the ring cam, and I'll just dart over there when it makes sense. Now, in the meantime, one of the things that I actually wanted to show you, this is totally a bit more off topic, but I tweeted out this the other day, and I thought this was super cool. So my youngest had an inkling last weekend or the weekend before to try his hand at stop motion animation. And this is something that we'd investigated, or kind of, I think we maybe did once or twice back in 2020 when everything was locked down. And he was a bit younger then, so the process of stop motion was a little too painstaking for his age for his single-digit age at the time. But now he thought, yeah, let's go for it again. So I'm just going to show you this. This is a little just looped GIF. But I mentioned, and you've heard me talk about, you've seen in other footage, he's a huge classic horror film fan. Not for the death part of it, but he really loves the theatricality, and he's very sort of Tim Burton-y. He loves, and actually, is probably second favorite movie of all time that's not really horror, but kind of is Nightmare Before Christmas. So in any case, this was a proof of concept. It's only 5 seconds, so approximately 60 frames. We did it at 12 frames a second. And I got using a NECA character, if you're familiar with the NECA line of figurines. They're really more collectible. So they don't bend a lot, which I actually said to him, I go, that's actually an advantage. It makes it even creepier, makes it feel more authentic, a little more authentically 60s. I used to watch all these 60, Gumby probably the most famous, but also anybody, if you grew up in the 70s, early 80s, you might remember Davey and Goliath. That was claymation, but it was all stop motion. I was so fascinated by it. Anyway, I just thought this was cool. I thought it was worth sharing. And it's proof positive that, you know, if you're going to create, if you like creating stuff, if you like making things, if you're that inclined, you'll continue to do that. And there was another social post that went out from my colleague Esteban that was basically the existential question of 2024. In the creative space, will AI replace us? And my short answer was, no, it won't. If you like making stuff, you're going to keep making stuff. Now, can it augment? Can it speed up and assist and, you know, radically change the way you do things for the better? Sure. You know, we've seen that with text-based editing. We've seen that with enhanced speech in Premiere. So many possibilities. And can it, you know, yes, could that have theoretically been done via AI with an image? Sure. But also, you know, one of the things that I love about that little example you see as he's moving the character, the head turns are really spectacular. You see the light change. You see some of the dust on the ground plane, the area that he's standing on change. That's kind of the beauty of it, is sort of that dirty randomness, the grittiness. Sorry, I keep leaning in and I realize the focal point is like right here. Shooting this at f4 to get that little blur behind me. So, you know, it was just fun. It's fun to go old school, and, you know, particularly with kids, like the AI stuff is amazing. And of course they love it, but also doing old school stuff, traditional methods of doing things, I think it's fun. It's fun to explore. It's fun to see how it used to be done. You know, I have a wax cylinder. I'm not going to go start making my own wax cylinders and transferring all my music there so I can share it with the world. They'd have no way to play it. But these kind of things, it's integrating two passions, right? It's a little bit of old school, and of course it was cut in Premiere. You know, again, how do we take it from there? And he started asking questions about color and about, you know, sound design and all this other stuff, which is also worth mentioning if you have not yet checked out the Premiere Pro beta. Lots of cool things coming to the beta. We were at Sundance last week. You probably saw some of the social posts announcing some of the new audio features that we have coming to Premiere, including very soon you'll have sort of in the official release enhanced speech, along with some very Audition-like cross-fading capabilities. So, you know, in Audition we have these you can't see my screen. In Audition we have non-destructive handles. So we're bringing very similarly styled crossfades to Premiere Pro as well. You know, a day doesn't go by if I'm sound editing or doing something Audition where I'm not messing about with those. So we now have similarly styled crossfading coming to Premiere very soon. So if you haven't checked that out already, I recommend that you do. What's happening, Barbara, Sean, Valdair, Z by HP. Esteban knows better. No. He was, listen, it's worth saying, right? It's worth saying because there's still a lot of uncertainty and all sorts of things. But the reality is, if you like making stuff, you're going to keep making it. And maybe you make it slightly differently. And maybe the way that you think about ideas is a little bit different. As I've said many times, you know, music generation for what it is, I think is very interesting for a lot of people. As a composer, the generation side of it, not quite as interesting. I like playing it. I like doing it. I just like making it. Me. Every note. Good, bad, out of tune, otherwise. That's me. But I can also see, particularly for things like temp music, right? I'm cutting something. Someone's like, oh, I would love something in this style. And I don't have, you know, an hour to record a samba. I could generate something in a samba and say, okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about this idea? What do you think about this idea? Many, many amazing possibilities for all that stuff. And I'm curious in the chat if anybody's tried any outside of HeyGen voice cloning. That seems to be kind of the big audio thing at the moment. Everybody's talking about that. Has anyone actually tried any of the generative audio stuff? Very, very curious. All right, checking the chats here again. Vincent, Justin and I recently did an interview on my channel with the cast of Marvel's Echo and used a lot of things you've taught me over the years in my editing. Thanks so much. Oh, Vincent, that's awesome. Funny, my wife just watched it. She said it was really good. She really enjoyed it. I'll have to check that out. Really good to see you too, man. It's been a while. Tim Illoway, yes, great way to start off the week with some grooves. Tim Diamond Beach, New Jersey. Ah, very nice. All right. Ah, Vincent, you are all too kind. You are very, very nice. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so let me just quickly set the stage here to, before we get into some morning groove, which to quote my, something I've said a million times, John Lennon has said, you can't make music at 8 or 10 or whatever it is. 10 a.m. is not the grooviest time of the morning, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But real quick, so this is, I restored this drum kit behind me, which I've shown many times now. And part of the desire for that was to really recreate the sound of Ringo's 1969, effectively the Get Back kit, the kit that he used in the Get Back film, ultimately Let It Be, Abbey Road. You can see all the towels present there, including using very similar, if not identical, in the case of the kick drum and some of the tom mics that you can't see because they are underneath. They were mic'd from the bottom, how it was done at Abbey Road for this particular series of recordings, along with the towels, to really capture that identical sort of very, very approaching the 70s kind of sound. It's very muted. There's not a lot of high end. So all of this is specifically that, and just to kind of give you an idea of the sound, and maybe I'll even play it too. This is from an earlier recording that I did. Let's take a quick listen to this. And again, this isn't treated at all. It's not mixed or anything. It's just basically raw coming off the kit. And just for additional clarity here, I do have a little amount of compression on the snare drum, just to pump it up a bit, just to give it a little more snappiness. Again, raw, but nothing else. You can see there's no other effects here. I had some reverb. I was testing reverb on the floor tom. It's disabled. So that's it. Nothing else going on here. And let's take a quick listen to what this sounded like. Okay. So, if you've ever heard that sound before, if you've ever heard that song before, it's not just about the toweling of the drums, right? By the way, I should also mention for all the audio nerds out there that, it's the same vintage. I'm using, what are they? Oh yeah, the Evans calfskin heads on some of the drums there to mimic, again, the 60s era. The Zildjian cymbals, I've talked about this, they're all, with the exception of the hi-hats. The hi-hats are 1970. They do have the branding. They're like I think they're the rock hat. But the others, the crash and the sizzle, all dark, all super heavy, all the unbranded Zildjians from that era. So I really tried to go for the identical thing. And yes, it needs a little bit of EQ, but on the surface, it's quite spectacular. But beyond that, and this is my point about talking about the human performance here, and this is to inspire all of you creatives to, again, embrace both parts of these things. It's not just about the drums itself and the mic positioning and all of that. It's about the feel of, when he's doing those 16th note triplets. It's not just that they're 16th note triplets. Now, you could feed that into, I was going to say Reason. How old is that? I don't know, Ableton, some drum computer, and you could give it that same pattern, and it would be digga-da-digga-da-digga-da-da. But Ringo's style, and again, the style of what that is that there's a bit of there are very distinct dynamics in how that sounds. It's not digga-da-digga-da-digga-da-da, it's Someone tuning in right now is going, what is happening? Right, it's the dynamic change that really kind of sells the idea. Right? All these little subtle things. And as someone who makes music and, just loves art in general, when I hear that, me, Ringo, you, someone else, whatever, that's what just oh my God, right? Your head just, hair on your arms, if you have it, stands up. Kyle Webster, our fellow Adobe colleague and fresco master, he recently did a self-portrait on Twitter, and he talked about, well, it was just a self-portrait. So if you know Kyle, handsome man. He did the self-portrait very simply, black and white. And I wrote back and I said, my God, there's something about it that just feels like you. And he came back and said, no, it's easy. You know, he goes, I draw an egg shape, you know, some eyebrows. I'm pretty simple. And I went, no, that's not it. Because it's not just about the stroke. It's about the feeling that I get when I look at it. And I think, God, it's not just a charcoal portrait of you. It embodies the spirit of you in the stroke. Now, you could artificially create that, but knowing he did it is what makes it so exciting for me to see and to appreciate and to love. And then he could take it a step further by, maybe taking that into Illustrator and doing some kind of cool text-to-vector thing to, or even a style match, right, to create additional variations of things and, again, ideate around all kinds of things. So what is the point of all this? Kind of picking up from last week again, it's this kind of continuation of embracing these things, but also I just saw a lot of it last week about, the creative space. There's so much AI development every day, and we're doing so much of it. And the way that we're trying to embrace it is, again, you've heard us say, it's a tool. And we used to have a saying when I started 20 plus years ago, I think our then slogan, it could have been a little bit later, but it was something, tools for the new work. That sounds very early 2000s. That's very .com-y sounding. .com-ish sounding from the sort of late 90s, early 2000s era. But it still sort of applies, right? It is sort of tools for the new work. It's just thinking about new ways of doing the things you've been doing and being more efficient with them, all right? So true, says Cody. Yes, you're someone else too. And, those of you, we all know and love Cody. One of the first people I met when we started streaming, and your particular style and watching you illustrate. Even now, when I look at the things you make, every stroke, everything about it has a signature that's yours. And when I see it, and I don't know you that well, but it feels like something that you did organically. And I don't know, it draws me to it. It draws me to it knowing that you did it. And you could say, it's fresco, and it's assisting, and it's making the lines better or cleaner, whatever. Sure, that's the tool. But it's your brain that's, coming up with this, how it was done. And that's what's so really enticing to me. Okay, so with that, you've heard a little bit. Why don't we, let's go for it, all right? Let's see what's gonna happen here. So I'm gonna put my headphones on. I'm gonna switch my view, create a couple grooves, and we'll have about 7 minutes to edit a few grooves here. Let me get this into record mode. And I'm also going to remember and not forget to turn down this microphone so you don't hear massive amounts of distortion as we're doing that. Okay. Cody, you are so welcome. Yes, and and Jan is saying your own style is always cool, your own signature. Yeah, and by the way, it takes a long time to establish that. And it can change and it can morph and it can do all kinds of things. But as felt style of design, if you see skulls and flowers and beauty, that could be a Paul Trady original. All right, so we've got this all on. I'm going to go hop over there and we're going to play a couple of bars and see what happens for a couple minutes. All right, here we go. Also, I was supposed to have the iPad over here, but